Hello folks and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party and let's try Farming World. It's developed by Excalibur, published by Merge Games. You can pick it up for $14.99 on Steam for Windows and Mac. It does support Steam trading cards. As you can guess, this is a farming simulator game. Believe it or not, this type of game is right up my alley. I know I start a lot of games and say, I don't really like this genre. This is one I actually do like. So let's go ahead. I'll show you real quick the different game modes, but then we'll hop into a game that I'm already going. You got the campaign mode, the free play, and the tutorial. Campaign mode is not really explained very well. They just kind of throw you in. I guess you're supposed to beat the competitive or the farmers that are against you, but there's not really any rules or anything as far as I can tell. I don't really quite understand how that works. Free play is as you would imagine it. No locked items, just build, farm like you've never farmed before. And of course, tutorial. Self-explanatory, we don't need to get into that. Let's go ahead and continue a game. Now, this is a game... Oh, this is wrong. My mistake. Let me go back out here. And I was testing there. Which one do we want to load? This game. So this is a few hours in, maybe 3 hours in. I've been kind of messing with mechanics, trying different things just for funsies. Trying to figure out exactly how this game works, how it makes, or figure out how it ticks. So, as you can imagine, here is our farm, and this is on campaign mode, on free play mode. And I have various crops planted, and they're at various stages. So for example, if you click here, you can see I've got runner beans. This bar indicates how far along they are on the growth cycle. This indicates the soil quality of the land. And this indicates if the stars here, the plant or the crop is organic, which means you've only used organic fertilizers and organic pesticides. There we go. Anti-pesticides. I don't know what that is. Organic sells more, and I don't see a negative to using it. I think maybe if you use organic, you can get diseases more on the crop, but I pretty much always use organic. Just not because I actually like organic, but because I like to sell it to people for way more than everything else is worth. So let's go ahead and just start fresh. We've got this field here. I've already got something on it. I'm going to click this. I'm going to reset the land with plowing and get this started. Now, when we reset the land with plowing, we can use a plow, and we have to either rent one or buy one. I've been renting because they're pretty darn cheap and they're pretty expensive. That's what, 10,000? We'll call them dollars, even though I think those were pounds, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we're calling them dollars. It doesn't matter. And you can zoom in and see the plow doing its thing. You can also hide all the UI elements, or you can hide the pop-ups at the very least. And let's go ahead and put this back up, because this actually is pretty important. Now, you might notice, wow, time is going very, very slow. It's 14th, and we're going up by actual time. And it's a farming game, and you would think, okay, this takes a long time, and you would be right. Now, there's 3 different speeds other than pause. There's a regular speed, 10 times, which, as you can see, goes much faster, and then 100 times speed. And the music actually changes with that, too, which is nice. So 100 times goes very, very quickly, and you end up spending pretty much almost all of your time in 10 times or 100 times, unless you're doing something very, very specific. Now, you'll notice time stopped there with a little icon that popped up. That means stuff is ready to harvest. It looks like my my regular potatoes are ready to harvest. So I will click on them, and this is all the things that you can do with this field. I can reset it with plowing, which obviously we don't want to do. These options come up later on, and I'll show you those. And right now, we can harvest, or we can water the land. Again, we don't really need to water it since we're harvesting. So let's go ahead and choose who we're going to harvest. These are locked, and I'll show you how to unlock things in just a bit. We'll go ahead and hire that basic group. And oh, look, I got a star. Let's go ahead and click on that. We'll go over the stars in just a bit. Go ahead and hire someone to grab my crops, and they will get to it. So let's get started. Now, you can draw these lands out. You don't just get started with a bunch of squares. In fact, let's just show you how to do that real quick. It's very, very simple. Rent by land. We will drag out what we want. I usually just do 10 by 10 squares. I don't know if that's ideal, but it just makes sense. So we have our square. We can either buy it, which would cost us $14,000, or we can rent it at $20 a day. I've just been renting because early on, money's a little tight. But I'm getting to the point where money's not a huge deal, but we're still going to just rent it. We don't want to get ourselves in trouble, especially when I'm just trying to show you the game. So we rented this land out. Let's go ahead and we'll reset this with plowing, just like we did with the other. And we'll skip to 100 speed. And let's go ahead and choose the fertilizer. Now here, let me go ahead and pause it. We again have fertilizers. Most of them are locked. And again, I will show you how to unlock stuff here shortly. But you have organic fertilizer and synthetic fertilizer. Now see, here's one thing I don't like, is that it doesn't tell you the difference. They're both the same price, $450. They're both add nutrition at 10, which I guess is probably not the best. And then this is organic and this is synthetic. Now, obviously with organic, you get the benefit that people will buy the food more. But with synthetic, I don't know. Again, I'm guessing that maybe the synthetic will ward off disease, but the game doesn't tell you that. So I just choose organic. And that kind of highlights one of my big issues with the game, is that it doesn't tell you a lot of things that I feel like it should. Some things are very unclear as to what they do. So now we need a truck to fertilize. Again, we're just going to rent. Again, we can buy all of this equipment as long as we have storage room. But early on, renting is super cheap. Only $800 to rent, and it's $8,000 to buy it. So for now, we're just going to rent it. Obviously, long term, it's going to be much cheaper to buy it. Just for now, I'm going to be doing that, though, just so it's faster. Let's go ahead and just go at 10 times speed. It's interesting that the music changes based on the speed. So the fertilizer is going. We're going to fertilize this as well. I'll just kind of blow through this real quick. Yep, rent a truck. And that's going to go to town. We'll go ahead and do 10 times speed just enough to get that done. Now that we've got this plowed and fertilized, let's find a plant to, well, plant. So over here we have Elroy. He can help us decide which crops to plant. Early on, this is super useful, and frankly, I still use this because when you pay him only $500, which again at this point is pretty much chicken feed, no pun intended, it's much faster to see what he recommends. Now you see this little circle with a star in it. If it's full, that gives his highest recommendation. Half a star means, that's not too bad, and then an empty star means you should probably avoid this. And there's a lot of information here. We'll cover this real quick. 3 stars, this is how many stars it takes to unlock, and we'll cover stars in a bit. It tells you what type of food it is, how much, or the best gain that you can get per square ton, the soil quality, so some things require higher soil quality than others. Manual work required, I think this means you just can't harvest it with machines. And if it has a month here, that means the month that's the seedlings or the trees or whatever will start to bear fruit. Now, there's other things like blackberry, which as far as I can tell, you can plant at any time. So I don't know, or I haven't been able to figure out any benefit to using crops that require a specific month, because you can only grow them once a year, right? It's February, and then once you've grown them once for the rest of the year on that plot of land, you can't really grow anything else because there's not year-round, well, there's not crops that start growing best in like October. So you couldn't plant something in February and then plant something else in October. But you have a lot of things like blackberries, potatoes, turnips, things like that. You can plant them anytime. Now, I'm assuming they probably grow better during the summer months, but you might as well grow something on your land instead of just sitting there growing absolutely nothing, obviously. So you can choose subcategories like you do drupes, citrus, nuts, etc. I really, really wish that you could had more sorting options, because there's quite a bit, as you can see, a lot of different things that you can plant. And let's say that it's January. Well, I want to see things that I can, well, let's say it's December. Let's say I want to see, well, what grows in March, because I want to go ahead and plant things. And by the time I plow the land, fertilize it, it might be February or March. So I want to find things that will start growing in February or March. So I want to be able to sort by that, but I can't. I can only sort by the subcategory, and well, actually that's it, and it sorts alphabetically. So I wish you could just say, I want to see everything, but I want to see all the stuff that grows in February at the top. It's not a huge deal, but, and I assume that eventually, based on the region that you picked, because when you're in the campaign, you can pick what type of region you're in, like America, Australia, which obviously have different climates. You'll probably learn which crops are best to plant at certain times of the year, depending on the weather that's going on. But early on, it would be nice to have that information there. Anyway, let's look at carrots. See, there's a price. Again, there's the information. We actually covered that already. This will tell you how long these growing phases last. So we have seedling, bloom, mature, and, well, wait, mature, ripen, and mature. That's kind of an issue I've noticed too, is when you hover over things quickly, sometimes it shows the last tooltip. But anyway, so this doesn't take too long to go through from seedling to ready to harvest. So carrots are pretty fast. These are how many hours of sunshine are required per day for optimal growth during those certain phases. This is the minimum temperature that they can tolerate. So obviously if it goes below that, that's bad. These are the optimal temperatures. So you want the temperature to be around those ranges. Again, it doesn't have to be 100%, but you might lose a little bit of yield, a little bit of quality. Now we have maximum temperature. Again, this is as high as you would want it to go. Rain requirements, millimeters per day. So 3.3, 1.6, etc. And that's what you're shooting for. Now you can see for the most part, we're doing pretty good here. The things with exclamation mean that we're running a little, we're kind of suboptimal here. So in other words, during this month, if I harvest now, or if I plant now, I won't get the 5 hours a day needed for the seedling. And to check that, you can actually go into the weather and you can kind of see, all right, not up to 9 days in advance, how many hours you're predicting to get. Now, I don't think if you pay this person, the weather forecaster person, she will be more accurate. I don't think she's 100% accurate, but I think it's just more accurate. So you can see, you know, what you're dealing with. Not very much sunlight until about a week from now. So you might want to wait to plant at a little later date just to optimize your growth. That might be a strategy that you want to employ, which is cool that that's there, that you can kind of plan around the weather, or at least what you think the weather is going to do. And here is a monthly summary of what they believe the following months are going to bring as far as temperatures, rain, sunlight, etc. And any kind of warnings, you have like serious weather effects. You can scroll down, of course, and see further and further into the forecast and further into the month so that you can plan your planting around what the weather is going to do, or again, what you think it's going to do. And again, you have options of paying per day. You can get weekly with high accuracy, monthly with medium accuracy. Honestly, again, these prices are pretty darn low. $1 a day, $2 a day, $3 a day, and you can get multiple. Oh no, you can only pick one. So $3 a day, that's only like on average about $90 a month. And again, I have 270,000. It's worth it to go with something like this. Weekly with high, I don't know why weekly with high accuracy is. Oh, I guess because I'm paying 3 per month, which is even more ridiculously low, which seems wrong. That seems insanely low, but at any rate, you can also just get weather warnings from Sarah, who is the weather person. So another thing I really wish this game had was sensitivity. Like when I'm scrolling, you see how it's scrolling in and out of the map instead of this. When I'm on a scroll bar, I would like it to scroll up and down on that so I don't have to click the arrows, which it's not so bad when you're in subcategories because most subcategories only fill about a page and a half. If you're in the major subcategory window, it can be a little annoying to scroll. It's not a big deal though. Not something that I would worry a lot about. So anyway, what we're going to do is plant carrots just because we can hover over this and we can get an estimated yield percentage of 88% and estimated quality percent 100%. Not too shabby. Let's go ahead and buy the carrots. 450, I'll take that. And we will rent this planter and it will start. Now, you'll notice the icon came up showing like a bull's head. This is one of my major complaints so far. You can get animals like, I have horses here and I have cows. You have cows and cattle, which is a bit weird. But let's go ahead and feed the horses because they're starving to death. You have to constantly feed the animals. Here's their hunger bar and it goes down and down. So I guess it's their full meter if it goes down. At any rate, you have to feed them before it hits the bottom or they start to die from starvation of any kind of livestock that you have. And you choose what kind of food to give them, organic or regular fodder. The fodder, at least this tells you, if you just give them the regular fodder, it has antibiotic mixture, which probably makes them more immune to disease, as one would think with antibiotic measure or mixture. But you can't sell them as organic. Now, I don't know if organic horses are a thing. No, we're not sending the horses to the butcher shop, I don't think. I think we're actually selling them for other purposes. So I don't know if organic horses is even a thing, but I don't know, whatever. You have the choice to feed them only organic, and you can sell them organic. Now, if you accidentally misclick, which I have done, over here on the cattle, I went to feed them organic, and I misclicked and clicked antibiotic. Now, forever, until I get rid of these cows, they will always be non-organic, which seriously hurts how much I can sell them for, which is a real bummer. I really don't understand why they didn't give you some option to say, okay, always feed these guys organic food. Like, having to click on this all the time is annoying. And you might not think it doesn't seem that bad. Let's go ahead and actually start planting something here. Let's see, what do we have? And I know you keep seeing all this locked stuff, and I promise we'll go over the stars here soon enough. Radishes? Sure. Let's go ahead and plant some radishes. Who doesn't love radishes? I'm actually growing radishes on my porch right now. I swear it's in a planter. It's just not my porch is so nasty that I'm growing radishes. Anyway. So, yeah, I don't see why you can't just have it auto feed, because when you're at 100 times speed, watch how fast these meters go down, the feed meters. Because a lot of times I'm over here fiddling with the farms, and all of a sudden, oops, I've had animals die. Now I have to slow it down, switch back. Now, usually I'll try to, keep in mind, okay, just keep clicking while it's going fast. But if I'm over here drawing out a farm or clicking them to see if it's ready for pesticides or getting it ready for harvest, animals are dying over here because I didn't click for 5 seconds. That's really, really annoying. I would really like to see some kind of automated food, because it doesn't add anything to the game, right? There's no purpose. There's no strategic purpose to having me have to click on the food each time. So that's something I would definitely like to see change. So if you look at these various crops, and we'll kind of stick over here since these are the ones that we've just recently planted. They have an icon showing what it is. It'll show how much the expected yield after the harvest, which you can't really harvest it right now. They're just seeds. And, the overall soil quality of the land is there. I'm actually in a pretty good spot as far as soil quality goes. You have a few different views that you can do. Here, the dark dirt is high quality soil. I don't think there's anything like crop rotation. I don't think, where, using it for so long, you have to switch out the crops. I don't think anything like that exists in the game. If it does, it has not told me that. We can also show owned land, which makes everything glow green, which right now it's kind of obvious what it is. We can also hide those panels, which most of the time I want the panels there. The panels can get in the way, and I can't rotate the camera as far as I can tell. And sometimes they can get in the way, but you really need them a lot of times, because like now, there's all these icons, and some of them are only available sometimes. So for this one is use pesticides in a seedling phase to reduce the crop loss against pests. And this is the pesticide for the blooming phase. So you have to catch it while it's still in the seedling phase. And you can hover over each of these tiny squares. And this might be hard to see on YouTube, but there are various squares that denote how far along it's in the process. Carrots have no hibernate phase, so this is just blank. Then you have the sown phase, the seedling, bloom, ripen, mature, harvest, and then overripe. So obviously you want to harvest before it goes into overripe. So we're going to actually use pesticides. Again, we're going to use organic. And again, there doesn't seem to be any reason not to use organic. Organic's the same price as the synthesized, so I don't quite get the point. Let's go ahead and fertilize this as well. I suppose I could always do tests, maybe have 2 identical fields and use only organic on one and then synthetic on the other and see if I notice any differences. But I couldn't be arsed to do that up until this point. So let's go ahead and go 10 times speed. We're going to kind of ignore these crops for now. Once you get your first big harvest, money really stops becoming a big issue, as far as I can tell. Let's see, is this ready to go to the next level? Oh, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I totally forgot about the animals because I was focused on getting this done. So some of them died, so I had to go back and feed them. It's just annoying when you're trying to handle this, and your animals starved to death because the ranch hands couldn't be bothered. Which you don't have any kind of fees for like employees. Every month you get a summary letting you know how much income you have. Now, I haven't sold anything this month, so obviously I'm looking bad for this month. But I just want to show you guys the market a little bit later. We do have disease going on. I wish the little icon would pop up or move to wherever the field is, because a lot of times these icons are pretty small. Like there's the disease icon, pretty small. I'd like to see that a little bit bigger, make it a little bit easier to see. Disease seems to be a serious problem. And again, maybe that's because I'm using organic fertilizer, but I'll say almost, but like half the time I plant anything that gets diseased. And I can still harvest it, so it's not a huge deal. I'm sure it impacts your how much you can harvest, and probably significantly. But I just pretty much ignore it because once it's diseased, I don't think there's anything that you can do to stop it. So these are now in the bloom phase. So let's go again. Use our organic pesticide. Rent out the sprayer. And we will again fast forward time. Play the mini game of try not to let these animals starve. Water. Something's actually out of water. I don't think that's ever happened before. Oh, this is out of water. You can also click this to enable automatic watering, which is I usually do it. I'll go ahead and pesticide this up as well. I'm not really paying too much attention to these crops. Normally there would be a little bit more micromanaging, a little bit more, where I go and I click on these. Okay, you need pesticide, or okay, do you need harvesting? It will pop up and tell you when something's needing up harvesting though. Yep, see again we have disease. We got horses trying to starve to death over here. More disease. As you can see, disease is a serious issue. Wow, we must have had a heat scorcher this year. Let's go ahead and just turn auto watering on for everybody. You're already on. Okay, good to go. And as you can see, this carrot field is diseased. So for these two, there's not really a broken fence. Again, broken fence, why bother? Why bother having a fence that I have to click a button to fix it? How about having for every one of these ranches, things that you have, just have a generic, you have horses in there, it's going to cost you, X amount of money per month. Instead of having to find it, stop what I'm doing, click a button. I should be having ranch hands who kind of deal with this. Does that make sense? And that's kind of another big thing that I have is there's not a whole, doesn't seem to be another broken fence. Where is that fence at? There we go. Might as well feed them while I got it on slow-mo here. The animal sounds constantly going off every single time you click is a little agitating too. But it's very simplistic. Doesn't seem to be a lot of strategy involved. Money's been really easy to get. Now, I am on the medium difficulty, so maybe that's a lot different on hard difficulty, but money's been super easy to get. I only lost due to money once, and that was just due to incredibly poor planning on my part. Once I realized that I need to make sure to plant things like potatoes that I can use year-round, it became a non-issue. Where is the thing that needs to be harvested? There's an icon. Oh, here it is. So our radishes are done. Didn't take very long at all. So we're going to harvest this crop. Get our basic group worker. Every time you harvest, there's multiple ways to get stars. Let's talk about that. I've been ignoring that for a while. Along the menu here, you have money, your stars, your silo space, your warehouse space, your cooled warehouse space, your garage space, and the time and weather and season and all that. So we've harvested our radishes, I think. Didn't we? Have you guys still? Okay. You can see the little guy down there harvesting. So we'll actually wait until he's done, and I'll show you how the market works. But the stars are how you unlock pretty much anything in the game. So any of this cattle, chicken, anything you want to raise as far as animals, or a lot of buildings are never mind. I was going to say a lot of those are free, but a lot of those cost stars. Like this large cannery is 20 stars, where I can buy a small cannery for just 5. And the cannery will accept certain foods like the runner bean, the tomato, etc., and obviously can them for sales, which is almost certainly going to be worth more than just selling the raw product, I would imagine, because otherwise, why would you do it? So yeah, you can buy all these various things: butcheries, garages, a hangar. You can even get a hangar for a plane. I'm assuming the plane can dust the crops maybe a little faster and maybe more efficiently. But again, that really has not been explained all that well. And I haven't seen a plane as being purchasable. Oh, sprayer high end. There it is, the plane. See it? The plane. So you can buy all this, or you have to unlock them with stars. Most of the very simple stuff, like the organic fertilizer small, I think most of those are unlocked by default. Anything beyond the bare basics requires stars to unlock. So the question is, how do you get stars? You get stars anytime you harvest a crop. You only get 1 star for that. So that's not really a whole lot. some of the biggest ways that you get stars are if you go to, where is it at? Contracts, and we'll go over contracts in a bit. You have achievements in this game. And once you meet certain criteria, you can actually claim stars here. As you see, I've gotten a few. Buy or rent 3 plots of land, 5 plots of land, 10 plots of land, etc. Let's find some ones that I haven't done yet. So buy 3 pins. It tells you your current status, which is 67%. Means I've built like, what, 2 pins? And then once I've done that, it doesn't give it to you automatically, which is a bit strange. You have to come back into here in the achievements window and then claim it. And then you get, for this one, for example, you get $1,000 and 3 stars. There's some of these that give you a lot of stars. For example, this one here, buy 10 buildings except pins, gives you 15 stars. That's quite a bit. I also got a lot of stars from when where is it? Yeah, your money is over 150,000. I got 30 stars from that, and then another 20 stars for having over 100,000, which is nice. Those are nice bursts of stars, like quick bursts, so you can buy a lot of things. Obviously, you still can't go crazy with it because once you've gotten these achievements, you can't do them again. And your main source of stars, as far as I can tell, is the achievements and harvesting. And again, harvesting only gives you 1 star. There are other ways to earn them, but offhand, I don't remember what they are. Kind of finishing up with the UI here. This jumps to our headquarters, and this jumps to the enemy headquarters. The enemy's just been sitting here this is all they've had the entire time. So I'm gonna guess, given how many fields and buildings I've bought and whatnot, I'm pretty much stomping on them pretty hard. But again, I don't know what my goals are. I have no idea. This is the campaign, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. All right, so let's go to the part that we really want to see, the market, where we sell our goods. Now, normally I can just say, okay, well, I got a lot of potatoes. I've got 135 tons of potatoes. This shows the quality, only 4 stars, not bad, but it is organic. And let's go ahead, let's sell all our potatoes. We'll move the slider all the way to the top, or to the right. And we can't change the price because we're just selling them at market value, just whatever they'll take it for. This shows the total amount we're going to make from just potatoes. And let's sell our radishes too. So all of our radishes, we make $25,000 with a total of $91,000. Not too shabby. Now you don't have to just sell at market value. You can also, if you pay attention to the prices, you might notice some things are worth more sometime. So let's say I've seen beef go as high as 80, but I don't want to sell my beef now. I want to go ahead and set this to max. And if this hits 80, actually, let's do this. If this hits 80, sell 1 ton of my beef. So I can say, okay, I want you to make contracts. And now you can go here and see your contracts. You can see I also have one for milk. I don't have much beef or milk. And you can see that my cow milk, I've got it set to sell some of it if it reached $60. And then my beef, sell it if it hits 80. You can cancel these contracts at any time. Or you could say, hey, you know what? I really need money now. Just sell this item right now at market value. And then you have to pay her, I guess. Oh, she works a 2% brokerage fee. So if you're going to sell it for more, you better hope that you're selling it for significantly more. 3% or more probably is what you should shoot for. So that's the market. Again, selling's pretty fast. As far as I can tell, things don't go bad. So I could probably sit on this milk, not literally, forever, and it would never go bad. It would never spoil, which again kind of takes some strategy out of it. Like, it would be kind of difficult if you said, okay, I've got this milk that I'm producing, but I need to sell it quick. So it might not, like, you might have to be a lot more careful with the milk because you are much more susceptible, because the people buying the milk know that you have to offload it because you only got so much time. So maybe milk isn't something that you put a lot of your resources into because you can't control it as much, as opposed to, like, say, beef. Maybe you could wait till the market's better, and the beef holds a little bit longer than the milk, so you're not as susceptible to time ruining your investment and just losing the milk outright. And then that could be another strategy. Well, I want to make a lot of radishes, things that I can hold on to for a long time that will store really well until there's a rush on radishes for whatever reason. So a lot of that strategy seems to be missing. Yes, you can wait to sell it until the prices are better, but there's no counter to that. once you get X amount of money, like I've got 320,000 now, other than space, like using up space in your silos and in your warehouses, there's no reason to just say, well, I'm just going to put this at, I've seen beef hit 80 before, and I know it'll probably do it again. So I'm just going to set all my beef to 80 and just sit on it until it sells it in the background because it hit 80. And then I make a whole bunch of money. So I feel like there's a possible strategy element that's missing there. But the Farmer Center, this is where you can buy various things. Again, the seeds and the trees, the organic or the fertilizers and the pesticides you can buy and or unlock there. Livestock wise, you've got not as much choice here. There's some interesting one: turkey, rabbit, pig, goat, cattle, as you would expect. Buildings, we kind of went over that. Vehicles, we've done that too. Farm workers, which is interesting. You can actually unlock a higher group of farm workers. So the question is, what's the point? Why bother unlocking this higher end stuff? In this case, again, you can look at the stats, and sometimes the stats don't really tell you much, and in some cases it seems like it's not even worth it. So, for example, this basic worker only works at speed 1. This one works at 1.5. Well, the speed doesn't really seem to affect anything other than obviously how fast they gather, and they already gather pretty fast. So I don't know what the point of gathering just a little faster is. I mean, unless you're just crunched for money and you need those extra seconds, which is probably not going to happen, then what's the point? So we look at this, harvesting efficiency 90%, and this advanced group is 95%, so only 5% more efficient. Now, granted, they only take 5 stars to unlock, and let's go ahead and unlock them just for fun. And they cost 3 times as much, which again, not really saying much when it's $1 per hour or whatever it is. But only a 5% increase. Maybe those stars would have been best used for something else. And that goes for other things as well. We have like the fertilizer basic. It takes 1 slot for your garage, because you can have a garage where you can buy tractors and whatnot, but those take up space. And this one takes up 4 slots, so it's already worse in that respect. This is 90% efficient, and the high-end fertilizer is 100% efficient. So, but these are fertilizer, so fertilizing machines. So what benefit do I get out of it being more efficient? Does that mean I get a 10% higher yield? Does it mean it's 10% faster? Which again, the speed is mostly irrelevant as far as I can tell, because no matter how slow these things are, they still get done in less than 24 hours. So what do I gain for getting the higher efficient machines? Like I say, it doesn't really explain all that very well. And again, I'm sure there's effects. I just don't know what they are. And do those effects warrant spending stars and spending more money, because renting and buying these devices also costs more money as well. So it's kind of a double whammy there. So that's the Farmer Center. Let's see. That's the rent or the market we've seen. Rent and buy land. We've also seen that. Now, contracts I have not really done anything with. Contracts are basically, they're saying, hey, look, we need X amount of wheat, 37 tons of wheat. We need it in 149 days. If you give that to us, we'll give you 4,000. I think you can also get stars from doing these. So these might be good for quick cash if you know that you can produce this much in the requested time frame. I don't know what happens if you don't meet the requirement. I don't know if you actually get hit with anything like a fine or anything. Probably not. I'm guessing you just fail. Again, I don't know for sure. These are my closed contracts, which I don't have any because I have not done any of those. Statistics, this is just a bunch of bar graphs. Income, expenses, rented land. So you can kind of just scroll through these. Not super informative, but they are there so that you can take a look at them. The bank, if you're running low on money, you can go in for a loan. I've only done this once, and it was when I was already pretty much screwed at that point. Since then, money has not been an issue at all. And keep in mind, I've been completely inefficient sitting here babbling on, and I have other crops and things that I could be selling, and I haven't been, just because I've been talking. So I should really have even more money than I do now, 319,000. It seems like the costs of running the farm are super, super low. And So that makes making so much money off of selling the crops really trivializes the game. Again, maybe this is a lot different on hard, but on medium, it's been a total cakewalk. But again, I guess keep in mind, this is the campaign. This is the, I guess, first mission of the campaign, which again, didn't really explain it that well. So maybe, you know, things come up later on that make it more difficult. I'm also playing in America. When you first choose the campaign, you can actually choose where you want to go. And some areas are harder than others because of the climate. And obviously you would grow different crops in different areas. So again, maybe that factors into that as well. I haven't tried farming in other areas. So let's talk about this game as a whole. We'll talk about the options and we'll go back out to the menu to look at a few other things as well. What do I think about this game overall? Now, again, I love these types of games, these like creating a farm or creating some kind of industry and making money and expanding and upgrading and growing bigger and bigger and bigger. I love that type of game. So I was really looking forward to this. It feels very simplistic to me. There's really not a lot of progress in the game. The only real progress you make is getting stars, and you use the stars to open up new plants, but the new plants aren't necessarily better than the old ones. It's just variety. So, and I guess that would depend on, and your choice of plants are going to depend on obviously where you are. Also, the soil quality that you're planting on is going to factor into that. But it doesn't feel like you're making progress. You just have more options, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But it feels like I'm just arbitrarily picking crops that work well for these certain areas and for the region I'm in and the season it is when I plant them. So it's not, doesn't seem like a lot of strategy there, not a lot of reward there from moving forward. The same goes for the animals. There's pens, there's small pens, and then there's larger pens. This is actually a small pen, I think, and this is a larger one. Graphically, I can't really see any difference. I'm assuming, of course, that the larger pen can hold more animals. But yeah, there's not a lot of progress in that, and there's not progress in the machinery. If there was like a significant increase, like I've upgraded from the medium fertilizer to the high-end fertilizer, and now I have like super crops that sell really, really well, that are super resistant to disease, you know, whatever benefits you get from going with a fertilizer versus spending those stars and spending that money on, I don't know, a new plow, which enriches the soil somehow, that costs like 30 stars to unlock and a ton of money to unlock. There's none of that. There's just, well, this machine is slightly better than Machine C is slightly better than Machine A. It costs like 20 stars. I guess I'll buy it. There doesn't feel like there's any significance when I say I switch from a basic fertilizer to a high-end one. It feels like, it doesn't seem like a lot because some of these are just 8 stars, but some of them actually are kind of expensive. But again, keep in mind, once you finish with the achievements, it kind of gets a little bit harder to get those stars. So it's like, is this really worth 8 stars and 4 slot equipment slots? Not really, because it's like 10% more efficient, and that's pretty much it. That's the only benefit I get from that, and it doesn't seem to be a huge difference, because I did actually buy one high-end thing. Oh, a harvester. I bought a high-end harvester, 10% more efficiency in harvesting, which again, what does that mean? Does it mean I gain 100% of my expected harvest as opposed to 90% of my expected harvest? Is it just faster? Does it not affect the quality? Maybe this hurts the quality of the food because of the way it harvests? Again, I don't know. I'd like to see more actual feeling of progression, because it feels like the first 30 minutes of this game is going to be how the rest of the game plays out, but with slightly different crops and slightly bigger harvesters and fertilizer. It's not going to be significantly different. You're just going to have a ton more fields and a ton more building. So that, yeah, it just feels like it's lacking that depth, that complexity, and that progress. Now, with all that said, if you're looking for a game like this, where let's go ahead and harvest this. We can watch this. Our advanced group of people. Let's rent those people. I love how it says rent, not hire. I'm renting you to grab my crops. Wow, it almost sounded awful. I'm renting you to grab my crops. But for those of you who are maybe looking for a little bit more simplistic of a simulator like this, like maybe you haven't played a lot of these economy, business type simulations, maybe this is a good start for you, especially if you're really into farming. I don't know what it is, but games where you farm like this, I totally get into that. So this game already gets positive points just for being a farming simulator at all. But yeah, I think it's better for folks who just want a more simplistic simulator. If you're somebody who's played other games, and these aren't necessarily all economic simulators, but you'll kind of get my drift when I say things like Tropico, Capitalism, Theme Hospital, Children of the Nile, some of these more complex games with a little bit more layers of depth and a little bit more layers of complexity and progress, you're probably going to get bored with this pretty quick because, like I say, you just kind of build more and more crops. But frankly, some people might like that. Some people will like the idea of having all these different crops that you're growing, changing them out based on the season and what have you. And I wish there were other events too, like say there's a health article that says potatoes are super great and there's a new potato diet. Boom, I want to switch. I have to make the decision. Well, I've got some crops that aren't going to sell so well. Should I just plow those fields and plant some potatoes and try to get them made or get them produced ASAP so that I can capitalize on this current trend? Again, more levels of depth would have been great for something like this. However, you do have to keep in mind it is $15. But honestly, again, for those of you who are hardcore into these types of simulation type games, I think you might feel a little underwhelmed and maybe get bored with these a little quick. Unless, again, you just really like farming. But again, if you're more of a beginner, I would say take a look at this. Let's go, and you're looking to dip your toes in the water of simulation, then maybe Farming World is something you want to look at. Before we leave, I do want to show you a few things real quick. The campaign mode, you can actually pick Australia, Germany, Italy, Scandinavian Peninsula, Spain, United Kingdom, and the USA. From what I read, I think the USA is the easiest because USA. So again, maybe playing in a different area might be a lot harder to get money. So maybe I should start playing on a different area and a different difficulty so that I'm not just rolling in money within the first hour of the game. The other thing we want to check very quickly is the settings. As you can see, pretty bare bones settings here. Full screen, confirmation window. It does have separate sliders for the music and the sound, which I always appreciate. You can also change the language here. Let's keep it on English so I can actually know what it says. And that's pretty much it for Farming World. Like I say, overall, if you're a beginner or like your simulations simplistic and not overly complex, I would say look at Farming World, especially since it's only $15 on Steam. If you're looking for something a little bit more in-depth, something that's going to give you a little bit more long-term play, if you're experienced in this genre, maybe wait for it to go on sale, or maybe even skip it entirely if it does look a little bit too simplistic for you. Thank you guys for watching. As always, please leave comments. Let me know what you thought. If you played this game, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of it. If you'd like to see more videos like this of games that you might not have heard of, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, and I will see you next time.
Step back, though. We are getting this worked up about a mobile game.
I do hate you, though. I want to be 100% clear with a moment of seriousness. I hate your guts.